Hello Bellingham Access producers, my name is Nick Susik and I'm here to talk about backdrops and green screens. How you can take a boring wall in your house and turn it into something like this, or even this. So I've been using a DSLR since 2011. I have a Canon Rebel T3i, and most of the footage I've taken when I've tried to make informative pieces has been outdoor at locations I thought were interesting enough to project some sort of character. However, to produce more videos, shooting outdoors is a bit time consuming, and of course you're dependent on the weather, and I've wanted to shoot inside, but I didn't want things to look amateurish if I wind up just shooting in front of a wall or a fireplace or a bookshelf. I mean, those things are okay. So I tried using a white sheet, just hanging a sheet up and taking some lights I found around the house to see if that would be enough illumination. It was difficult to make a white sheet look like anything but a white sheet tacked up on a wall. So I tinkered with hanging a bed sheet from the ceiling for a bit, wasn't impressed, though I was reluctant to actually invest in getting a backdrop kit of any sort because I imagined it was going to be complicated, expensive, and require a lot of space. Turns out, after biting the bullet and buying one, I found out that it was relatively easy. They can be cheap, and it didn't require as much space as I thought. In fact, right now I'm in my bedroom. My bed is literally right here, okay? If I was concerned with getting a full body shot, that would be a different matter, but for this kind of apportionment, or even going back a little further, this is sufficient. All right, so for 35 bucks, I got a frame kit, which consists of 2 tripods that can reach up to 8 feet in height, and then going across it are segmented pipes. In this case, they will make a total of 10 feet in width. So this is relatively easy, and there are a lot of YouTube videos showing you how you can make your own, just buying supplies at the hardware store and whatnot. And really, if your objective is just to get a nice cloth hanging directly, evenly from the bar, you can get little ceiling hooks. I've seen some people do that. They get ceiling hooks, they build their own bar, and then just put the sleeve through it, and boom, there you are. For a green screen, that's going to be a little bit more complicated, so we're going to need the frame. All right, so I'm going to get this set up, and then we're going to move on to cloths. All right, so now you can see I've got my frame rigged up. I'm using 3 of the 4 beams across because I don't need a full 10 feet of width. Now that that's all set up, I take my cloth. In this case, I actually ordered these specifically for this frame. It cost me around 20 bucks, but you could go to a fabric shop and get whatever color you want. What's going to matter is you're going to want to create a sleeve, if you just decide to buy one on your own, for the bar to go through. So if you've got a sewing machine, that could be pretty easy, just fold it across and go. These, if you do order them online like I did, they will come creased, and because it's a muslin material, it's going to need to be ironed, or you'll need to use a steam cleaner to get it straightened out. Now, for the white sheet, that's not as important. As long as you don't have any real conspicuous lines in it, and especially if you can pull off some depth shot, so your background is a little bit out of focus, then that's not so important. For the green screen, though, it is going to matter. All right, so I'm going to get this set up, and then we're going to go from there. Bear with me for another moment. All right, so now that I got my cloth on the bar, I've got a hiccup. The width of the cloth will not line up with that of the bar. If I take one more bar off, it's going to be all scrunched up at the end. Part of the whole point of having a frame is so that you can get these clamps and then get it tight and snug on the sides by clamping it on. Well, obviously I can't do that here. So what I did was, to supplement a smaller bar, I found a little pipe that went into a piece of furniture on the house. By putting that inside, well, not on this one, but putting this inside, it's not going to connect exactly, but it'll create a little intermediate link. It won't make the bar as sturdy as I'd like it, but so far it's been sufficient to cover the width I need. Now I'm going to do that, and I'm going to jump ahead and toss on the green screen. And now my green screen is mounted. Once I got it up on the bar, I went over it with a steam cleaner to get rid of the wrinkles and get it nice and snug with the clamps on the side. Now you might be thinking that the position of the camera doesn't seem appropriate since you've got all these gaps out there. That's not going to matter. In fact, the screen is going to get smaller because I'm going to have to step away from it once I get lights on it. Right now the screen is not being lit directly by any additional lights. You can see my shadow. That's going to be a problem. You can see how there's kind of these darker spots. Okay, so this is what happens if I use the green screen as it is. Pop. Okay, you get all that static, you get all that haze. I can adjust that in editing, but it's going to degrade the quality of the overall image for the most part. You can get away with it, but ideally you want to get more lights onto the screen to remove that to begin with. So now I'm going to turn on my external lights and show you what difference that makes. Now the green screen is being illuminated by 3 direct light sources. I've got 1 on each side and 1 beneath me. It's not the most even distribution of light, but it's brighter, so hopefully that's going to improve the overall image quality. So let's see. Now that that's done, you might be thinking, that's so small. You know, what's the point of having a green screen when that's barely in your room? Okay, well, I'm going to show you how you turn this into this. Ooh. We've seen the hardware. Now we're going to look at the software. How do you actually do this on a computer? For this demonstration, I'm using a program called Power Director, but the feature and the techniques are going to be similar regardless of what software you're using. So to start with, we're going to take an image we want as our background, and then we're going to take the clip that has the green screen in it. The green screen will always be in a subsequent track from the image you want as your background. It will be below it in descending order. Think of it as 2 pieces of paper, one on top of the other. And in fact, let me do that. Let me pull this away. Okay, so when that's removed, you see the image behind it. Using a green screen, we're not actually imposing anything. Rather, we're cutting a hole or producing a gap based on color. Now, the procedure that's used, this is an industry-wide term, is called chroma key. We select the color we want within a certain degree of shading to be removed, so green. Now, you can see where I had spots on the screen that had too much light or too much shadow. I can adjust that a little bit, as I was talking about earlier, and there, that's an improvement. Too much adjusting can wear out the overall image, but in this case it looks okay. As I play it though, it's really choppy, okay? That's okay though, because once it's formatted, it'll look normal. It's just the more processing the software has to do, the more it strains the playback. You may have noticed that you can see parts of my room within the shot. How I get rid of that and create the illusion of standing in front of a much larger green screen is through masking. Masking is a technique whereby choosing a certain shape or creating a shape, the entire image of that track is reduced to it. Anything outside of that shape becomes a gap from which the background can appear. It works well with green screen because it creates a smaller green screen area to light and thereby correct. Some programs will feature an option called alpha selection, whereby by selecting on the person or object you want to create the green screen around, it will produce a mask automatically to their outline that will move with them. Now, in fact, you don't actually need a green screen or a green background to use the chroma key effect. You can apply it to any consistent color. I'm going to take this clip that I used earlier. I'm going to put a mask on it, try to do some little tweaking and modifying to see how far I get. I can get pretty far, but if I try to get rid of that last little smudge, it starts to creep onto my skin and clothing. Nonetheless, it just goes to show how far one can get with a little bit of tweaking. And there you have it. This has been a general overview on backdrop and green screen setup. And of course, we've barely touched on what's possible with a green screen, but more on that in another video. For Bellingham Access, I'm Nick Susik.